Hello, everyone. This is Eric Diaz, CIS 103. Thank you guys all for joining me this week. I'm really happy today to have Laiza Montanez, and she is going to be talking today about her experience working with brands as well as a freelancer in social media. So let me introduce Laiza properly. So our session today with Laiza will analyze her experience working as a freelance social media content producer. She is a Philadelphia native with more than 9 years of experience in the social media industry, including her nationally recognized brands such as Visit Philly. Throughout her career, she has maintained a diverse resume of work in nonprofits, politics, arts and culture, film, and the tourism and hospitality industry, to name a few. She specializes in social media video production and organic content creation, which has landed her the opportunity to elevate the story of Philadelphia and those she represents. So Laiza, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we had a chance to connect on LinkedIn, and I think we were able to connect a few years ago with some of your work with Visit Philly. So, and I know the students, as they took a look at your resume and your bio, they saw that, and there's a lot of good questions that they put forth. I think the whole Visit Philly message is great, but there's other things that you do, so I don't want to just limit that to that. So let's just hop right into it. So yeah, if you would just tell us a bit about your career path so far. What's gotten you to where you are today?
So hello, everyone. It's nice to talk to you. So my career started, right after college, I graduated in, oh my God, 2014. Right then is when I felt like you could see the shift in the social media industry and in the way that companies and brands were really prioritizing the importance of having a social media presence, right? So I kind of hopped on that bandwagon. I just graduated specializing in PR. I really didn't like PR. I didn't like the nuances of having to do the press aspect of it. So after doing some research, I realized that I can jump into the social media and digital arena and still use my degree in that capacity. So I started doing internships. I started doing, creating content on my own social media platforms, creating my own personal presence there. And then kind of started working with nonprofits and kind of moving up the ladder, right? And still giving myself the opportunity to work with people on the side, to do work on the side, so that I was continuing to build my craft. So it really took a lot of me being intentional about the different audiences and different industries that I worked in social media so that I was well-rounded. So like I said, I wasn't just in one, industry. I was in politics, I was in arts and culture, tourism and hospitality, just to get a well-rounded resume. And that was really important for me. And I think it worked out for me beautifully as I kind of went ahead with my career close to a decade now. So it took a lot of kind of perseverance and kind of doing the internships and kind of working with a lot of people on, 9-to-5s and off.
So tell us a bit about how you start working with Visit Philly, for example?
So it actually started with, I was creating when Snapchat was a big thing. I was creating storylines and, creative projects on Snapchat, and got a hold of, some people at Visit Philly and was like, hey, I would love to create content for you. I ended up coming on as a creator. They would hire me on to create content for them, and after that, there was an opportunity to come on the team, and they brought me on because they already kind of knew me. I had created content for them and kind of came on board that way. So through the social media world, it kind of helped me get into that team role, which was incredible because it was one of the leading and still is in some aspects tourism and hospitality agency across the United States.
Very good. I wanted to Dee or Ariel, if you wanted to, I don't know if you guys have questions about some of her early work, but if one of you guys wants to ask your questions now, if you're ready, let me know. If not, we can get you in a little bit.
I can ask one of my questions.
Sure, go ahead, Ariel.
I know you talked about how you majored in PR. I was just wondering, because like as a college student, I feel like social media is still very new to get into the industry. And a lot of times people point us in the direction of going into PR. I was wondering like what the differences, like what major differences do you see between social media work and then PR work in the real world?
The interesting thing is that it's a very good question. The interesting thing is that they are not much different. You have to understand the world is today, right? So if something was to go wrong with the company, the first place they're going to post their statement is like Twitter, right? That's the first place you're going to hear about it, right? So the PR world and journalism in general has moved into these live updates, these live reportings, on social media, right? The first place you go to learn about, a world issue is probably Twitter, Facebook. That's where you receive most of your information. So now, as I look back on it, public relations was the tool for me to kind of understand the role you have to play and the importance you have to play as the voice and the kind of like stand in for the company when you have to post something that is serious or just anything in general, right? You're the frontline defense for this company or this brand, just like a PR agency has to go in and either defend a CEO, their brand or their company, and they have to do the work to know who, the journalists are they need to reach to, who this person is, who that person is. We have to be able to know is who the influencers are, when to post something, when not to post something, where to post it. So there's kind of similarities between the PR industry and the social media industry. A lot of PR agencies now are looking for social media people to kind of come in and take in those roles because it's such an important aspect. So I would take it as an opportunity for you to learn if in fact that's the road to go to, as like an something to have as an arsenal for when you do go into the social media industry, because a lot of jobs are requiring for communication degrees that sometimes specialize in PR.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Ariel, did you have another question you wanted to ask now or later on?
I can ask later.
Okay, sounds good. I wanted to ask some more questions. Actually, you know what? I think, Dee, I wanted to get you on the line because there was a question that you had that asked specifically about a video, and I think it'd be great if Laiza, if you wouldn't mind maybe sharing your screen and just talking to it a little bit. But Dee, go ahead and if you would ask your questions that you had.
Hi. So my question was, in one of your LinkedIn posts, so you mentioned that some of your videos and content won awards. Could you share with us one of them and explain to us like how you worked on them?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the videos that was one of my favorites was, so Philadelphia was going to honor the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, I believe 2 years ago. And one of the things that Philly was going to do was they were going to create this float, right? And this float was going to have, icons and imagery that kind of connected the history of Philadelphia to the history of Stonewall, right? Kind of sharing the idea that Philly is a place to come to connect to your LGBTQ history, and kind of putting Philadelphia as the forefront of that. And this float was going to go to New York, was going to go to I think I heard LA at some point. Like it was like this float was going to go all over the place. So the team wanted to create a video that kind of put all of that together and kind of shared the story of the float and its connection to Philadelphia and the history. A part of that, we felt, we can't just like record the float and just add a little text in. The team came together and said, what if we create an activation where we go on social media and we ask people in the LGBT community to come to where the float is being created, write what, you know, Pride Month or the 50th anniversary of Stonewall means to you, and we would tie it on the float. That way it created this opportunity for people to become a part of this float and created a storyline for the video to be shared on social media. We were gracious that, you know, it came out to be one of our most emotional videos for us, as well as, you know, it won an award for the way that it was created, the storyline behind it, and kind of its connection to a larger conversation. So I can show that video with you now. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
You are not alone.
What pride means to me is
I can do
Oh
this.
my goodness.
I can do this now in public.
People being themselves, authentic to themselves. That's basically what it means to me, like people being authentic.
Nesta, my son, used to feel like he was both a boy and a girl at the same time, and he couldn't decide, and he wanted to dress how he wanted to dress, and he wasn't sure what he was inside, and so Nesta came today because he wants to support anyone who may also feel that way, and that it's okay, he gets how you feel.
The anniversary is very important, and really when we think about Pride, we need to think about where it came from.
It's really cool that we get to be kind of a part of the float. It's like 50 years, Stonewall.
Progression is never fast, but it's steady enough, and we came a long way over 50 years.
Love whoever you want, it's that easy. And also you always have a family with all of us.
I love you guys! I know how hard can be, and I just want to let you know that you are not alone and that you have to love yourself.
Just be yourself.
Yeah, and just own it. It's your superpower.
Okay. So that was a video that, like I said, was very personal to all of us because it was very emotional. And the great thing about this video was that it was evergreen in a way that we were able to repurpose that video on other LGBT Pride Month as like a TBT and kind of like use different clips throughout Pride Month, especially for that specific Stonewall campaign. And yeah, it was fun to kind of like produce that storyline from the beginning and kind of creating a moment with us and using social media as like part of the driver of creating and producing that video.
Thank you for sharing this.
Of course.
So my second question, what skills helped you the most to be an effective social media content producer?
So the biggest thing that I would say right now, what makes me, what I would say sellable would be my ability to be able to not only produce video content, shoot video content and edit it. Another thing would also be the ability to be able to understand audience. And what I mean, and what I mean by that is to be able to have the experience from politics, from, you know, arts and culture, from tourism and hospitality, from, you know, the film industry. I'm able to kind of decipher what goes on what platform, right? And what types of language we can use for each platform. So when I went into the tourism and hospitality industry and I was able to learn who the demographic was, and who we were talking to, it was very easy for me to know my process, to go back and say, okay, I know that on Facebook, we have more of a family oriented, audience. These are the types of content that can go on there. And to be able to know that and to be able to produce content for different areas and different platforms is a very good skill to have, especially when you're going to the social media industry, because you want to be able to be well-rounded enough to understand that certain pieces of content goes to certain places. And when I say what I said previously, learning how to produce, shoot, and edit content is being a well-rounded person, in a sense that I'm not just someone that can write tweets and hit publish. I'm someone that someone can go to kind of create the content as well and to kind of produce it. I'm a person that can wear many hats. And in some aspects that can give you the opportunity to ask for more money. And if you're a freelancer, to charge people money for that. So it's a very good skill to have. And I feel like in the social media industry now, you have to be everything. You have to be a graphic designer, you have to be this, you have to be that. So that's where we are right now.
Thank you for sharing that. You did mention video content a bit, and one of the questions I had from Oberon in the class was, what is your go-to video editor that you use, either on your phone or outside your phone on desktop?
Hands down, it's this app on iPhone called Video Shop. I swear by it. It's, many times, a lot of these companies, you would think they have the budget for everything. When I had worked at Mural Arts, they didn't have a budget for anything, and I had to produce video content on the go while I was out in the field. And I found this app on social media, and I think you pay like $12 or something for a year, or something crazy like that. And you're able to edit content and kind of download it in 4K easily on your iPhone. And it's probably one of the best tools that I have that I can use on my phone if I want to, on the go, to create and edit and produce content, especially when you need to edit content for like Instagram stories really quickly or whatnot, or reels. Like, it's one of the best apps to use.
Perfect. Okay. And then let me see. I also had another question for Oberon that I wanted to ask. Let me see. Oh, asked about the nonprofits. Just curious more about what other nonprofits have you worked for? Was there anything that inspired you about them when you worked to work for them?
So I worked for, my biggest one was Mural Arts Philadelphia, which they're known, well, they say that we're the biggest mural capital of the world here in Philadelphia, because we have over probably 4,000 murals across the city. And working for them and creating content for them, especially on a budget that was like little to nothing, really kind of pushed me and my creative element to kind of figure out and innovate ways to create content for them that kind of push the boundaries and kind of show them the ins and outs and the behind the scenes of what artists were doing, what we were doing in the community, how we were helping the community, and the stories that were behind each mural. So that was one of the biggest organizations that I had worked with and that do incredible work across the city. I worked for them. I worked for this nonprofit film festival called the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival. Great film festival that features filmmakers from all over the world. They're an incredible team to work with that I have worked with for a number of years. And that was a great exercise to kind of work in that field and to learn about the film industry and how that worked and how people, communicate and how to work with filmmakers to create content. Was really, really great.
Great. Now, I did have a follow-up question about the apps or video software. Any desktop editor that you recommend?
Just a normal like Adobe or anything that you have that, that is easy. You really don't need anything crazy for a social media video unless you're producing something high quality like I just showed you. I'm not the one that edited that video. I worked with a team with a video, videographer who actually did that video. So I was more on the producer, I wore the producer director hat for that. So, and then just helped with the strategizing and the putting out on social media. So working directly with the videographer. So unless you're a videographer and that you really have the tools and the knowledge for that, you really don't need anything crazy. It can just be any desktop application. Yeah.
Very good. I'm gonna ask a couple questions from Rosemary, and then in a minute, Francisco, I want to have you on to ask your questions. So a couple questions that came in from Rosemary were about Visit Philly. She asked, would you say that being from Philly has helped you create content for this page, since you're more familiar with the city? It's usually the example that she lives in Arizona, so doesn't always find it as exciting. But have you ever felt that way about Philadelphia? If so, how do you overcome that feeling? How has that affected the content that you created for Visit Philly?
The interesting thing is that when you're from Philly, you think you know everything about Philly, and you really don't, especially when you go into the tourism and hospitality industry. So the great thing is that being on the inside, you kind of get the inside scoop for new restaurants that are opening, new exhibitions that are coming, things that you didn't even know existed, like little, holes in the wall, places, the best pizza shops, the, best places to get the best view. There's a lot of stuff that you didn't know, which made it so much more exciting for me because I always felt like I was learning something new about the city. And the great thing about it is that when you go into the tourism and hospitality agency and you work for a tourism company, whether it's like, Visit Arizona or, these places, typically you really don't need to know so much about the city. You just need to be curious about your city enough to, I would always stay connected to who the influencers were in the city and what they're posting about, who the Instagram photographers were posting about. Maybe they got the best angle somewhere. It's like, oh my God, where did they get that? How did they get access to that? We were always in the know with the PR agencies that are always showing out, who's showing out the best food right now. What's the place that's the most trending food? So being always in the know and kind of being aware and asking questions and saying you want to feature a neighborhood and then going deep into that neighborhood to find out the gems in those places made it the most exciting because I never knew what I was going to find in the city. So it definitely didn't make it boring. It made it really exciting because it helped aid in being, trendy and kind of finding new ways to kind of create content to share it out on our platforms.
Excellent. Follow-up question from friend Sean in the class. She asked, who would you say the target audience is for Visit Philly?
So target audience, we really focused on drive markets. So drive markets where, New York was a big one, Jersey, Delaware, places where, if they could just hop in their car and take a 2-3 hour drive to Philadelphia and spend the weekend, those were the people that we were targeting. We weren't necessarily targeting people from like California or any of these places because it wasn't ideal, right? If you go to those places, you're not going to go across the country just to come visit Philly. So we really focused on these drive markets. And after the pandemic, we really focused on these weekend getaways, come for the weekend, stay over for the weekend. You deserve to go out. You've been at home all day. Like, you know what I mean? Escape the being home and watching your Netflix series. Just take a moment to get a beat, go out for so we really focused on these weekend getaway adventures. So we would create itineraries that would say, if you come to Philly on Friday, you can go have dinner at Pizza Via Vetri. And then on Saturday, you can wake up and go to the new exhibit at the Franklin Institute. And then from there, you can have lunch here. And then you can drive back home. You know what I mean? So we kind of focused on drive markets because it was so much easier.
Makes sense. Another question I had also from Rosemary. This one is about social media influencers. Basically, she wants to know, they have a number of assignments that they do with influencers. And she wants to know, have you ever used a social media influencer to promote your social media pages? And if so, do you feel like it was a good impact or?
So previous to the pandemic, we had a team of about 5 people, and one of the people on our team really focused on influencer relations. This person focused on really, like, if to say, perfect example, there was a Marvel exhibition that happened at the Franklin Institute, one of our big museums here. And it was supposed to be one of the biggest exhibitions here in Philadelphia that was going to drive people to come to Philly to experience this exhibition for the weekend. So we wanted to kind of drive home that experience. So we knew two influencers, twins in LA that were from Philadelphia that were very big Marvel fans. A lot of their content is very DC comic related. So we knew that they were the perfect fit. Whenever we're going to work with an influencer, knowing that we're going to pay for travel, sometimes we try to focus on our drive markets and the people that, influencers that might be in our drive markets. And sometimes, there may randomly be somebody in a different state far away that we can kind of capitalize on. We go in and we take the influencer's content and we run it through a system. We try to figure out if they bought their followers, what their engagement is on a certain post or several posts, and really what their connection is with their audience. If something is not clicking, they're not talking to their audience is not talking to them, you're probably not a great fit. Even if you have 50,000 followers and you only have 3 comments on one post that has 10,000 likes, something's not right. So we go in and we do a lot of verification with that. And then we bring the influencers in. The ways that we can figure out if it's worked or not, and one of the biggest ways is that usually we will give the influencer a link that is put onto their contract. And that link would have a specific booking widget that our team can go back and see if their followers went and clicked that link and where they went to with that link. That would be able to tell us that they're really engaged with their followers. The followers are going ahead and clicking on a link, and they're actually going through the process of trying to plan a visit to Philadelphia. That tells us that that influencer is worth it, and we can use them again in the future. We sometimes ask for analytics. We ask for a lot of stuff that can kind of help us verify. So it has worked for us in the past. We've had used people like NY Food Baby, I think it's called. They're really great. We get a lot of booking widget clicks with them. So it really just depends on the campaign and what we're asking them to do. So it's usually just campaign specific. We don't just bring them on just to bring them on. Even if they contact us, it wouldn't be necessarily like, yeah, we'll just pay you $10,000 to do this one thing, because Visit Philly was a nonprofit. So we would figure it out campaign by campaign. So it has worked for us. It just really depended on, what the influencer can give to us so that we can get the best return on our investment.
Perfect. Francisco, I know you had a couple questions. Let me know if you are ready and we get you on right now.
Yeah, so my first question is just, I know there's a lot of content planning that you guys do for Instagram. I know of a couple of like applications, for example, like Planoly and stuff. Do you guys use any of that, or like do you guys use any other different apps for content planning?
The funny thing is, the thing that we use for content planning is the Google Sheets. I'm not even gonna play with you. It's really Google Sheets. It's, we lay out what it is week over week, day over day. And we go in and we show you, we write the copy of the specific post, whether it's a video or a photo, what date it's going up, what time it's going up, a link to possibly an article or whatever's going up from there. We use Sprinkler at Visit Philadelphia, which is a top tier, content scheduling, planning, and metrics website that we used. And it was incredible to use because they had so many different applications and ways to kind of use the platform to kind of best utilize how we put out content across the board. So really it was Google Sheets and Sprinkler. And that's what we used at the time. Nothing really fancy.
All right. I also have another question. When it comes to hashtags, I know a lot of brands tend to sort of hide them in the comment section. Would you say that that is something that impacts, gaining followers or likes, or, potentially ending up on the explore page. Is that something that you think works for, you know, potential Instagram posts, or does it really not matter, if that makes sense?
I think having hashtags matters because it's going to get you to where it's going to get you. It's going to get you the eyes that you need. But I don't think it matters where it is on the platform, just possibly how it's placed if it's on a caption. So, you know, social media, especially Instagram, and a lot of these different platforms, is the way something looks, right? If a content or a caption doesn't look put together or doesn't look, you know, nicely placed, you're going to get confused about what the brand or the organization is trying to say very quickly. So that's, I think, why some people put it in the comments and they hide it in the comments, which is totally fine because it still gets your post wherever it's going to go. Or some people add their caption and then put ... and then it's the hashtag kind of like box of all their hashtags. So I think it depends on how it's shown on the platform that it would make sense for the viewer to see, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So I've got two questions from Valeria, and then I wanted to pass it back to Ariel, who has another question. So from Valeria, she asked, what made you decide you wanted to be freelance versus traditional, versus like working with one company, or was it, or what made you decide to go out on your own?
So I'm all a big proponent for 9 to 5. I like the security of being able to have health insurance. I like the security of being able to have all of the nooks and crannies that it is to have a 9 to 5. I love that. I felt like, you know, at this point in my career, almost a decade in, my husband and I were definitely in the position where I was able to kind of go off on my own and create content, create the type of content I want to create on my own. I really wanted to have better work-life balance. And I felt like after the pandemic, what a lot of people don't realize is that, especially in, you know, bigger companies, social media teams were reduced to one. We went from a 5-person team to just me, and I was holding the hat of 5 different, you know, team members, where I wasn't just producing video content anymore. I was writing the content, I was strategizing the content, I was, you know, being the person that overseed several different social media accounts with over 2 million followers across the board. So it was a lot of work, right? So I kind of felt like at the time, it was a perfect opportunity for me to kind of step out and kind of create content for people and create magic for people on my own terms. And we were blessed to be able to have the opportunity to do that and not have to stress about money, which is great.
Definitely. What's been your favorite company to work with?
The funny thing is I just started in December. I quit in December, and I started to kind of navigate into the social media world, in the freelancing world in February. So I'm going to be very transparent. I spoke to probably, you know, 10 potential clients in that period of time. And the one thing that you don't realize when you go into the freelance world, especially in the social media industry, and especially now, people don't want to pay for a team, right? They want you to be able to have and do it all. What people don't understand is that social media, especially when you want quality content over quantity, and I really specialize in quality content over quantity content, that takes time, it takes effort, especially when you're contacting and when you want to work with a person who not only produces the content, shoots the content, edit the content, and creates the copy and the strategizing for you. That takes time and that takes money. And you know, being a person that has a well-rounded skill set, you have to be able to fight for that, and not a lot of people want to pay for that. So being able to, I just landed my first client not too long ago, which is great. And they're a team that, you know, wants to work with creating content together that makes sense across all their platforms. And that's just me being transparent, right? It's not easy. It's not hard. I have the privilege to not be able to stress about wanting to, you know, hustle to get another client, because that's not the culture I subscribe to, nor do I want to do. So that's where I am right now.
That's great. Yeah, and congrats on that. I think it all starts with one, and then you grow from there. So that's great. What industry is that client in?
They're in the tourism and hospitality industry.
Perfect.
The great thing is that Visit Philly has provided me the opportunity to open the doors to work with a lot of people who want to promote themselves in the city. So because I already have that background, it gives me the opportunity to work with them easier.
Very good. Ariel, are you ready for your next question?
Yes, I am. I was wondering what your average workday looks like and how often do you need to post online?
So I can definitely give you an average workday at Visit Philadelphia. So typically I would say like a Monday, we would come in, we usually have a team meeting first thing in the morning to analyze if there was anything that happened over the weekend or what's coming up in that specific week that we need to target. Whether it be a new restaurant opening, if something has come up over the weekend that we're really excited about and they were like, hey, we need to post about this, usually that's it. We were producing about 3 Instagram reels a week, which is a lot, and posting at least 3 times a day on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook were our main platforms. And that doesn't just include just posting, this included community engagement as well, commenting back, tweeting back, interacting with past posts, things of that nature. So we had our team meeting. I will go and look at our content calendar for that week. I usually content plan 2 weeks in advance. So I would go in and you start switching things around depending on what has happened, what's trending right now in the social media space, so that we're not tone deaf and making sure that everything's good. And then it's community management. And then usually it's just kind of like producing. A lot of the times it's producing content, especially when we were pushing out 3 videos a week. We had hired a content creator to work with me so that, you know, we were content planning the best trending places to visit, you know, what were our goals for that specific week or that specific month, and kind of targeting those things so that we can get those content pieces out. So it was really producing and content planning were just the bulk of the day after you do the maintenance portion, which is just, you know, tweeting and all of that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Laiza, I'm just down to my last few questions here. So just a couple more quick ones just to wrap up here. So what type of professional and personal skills does it take to succeed at this type of work?
So I feel like one of the biggest things is that to have the opportunity of experience. So depending on how you start out, always be open in the beginning of your career to kind of help out, to build experience, whether, you know, I interned right after college, and that's not heard of, right? You usually intern while you're in college. After college, I interned while I worked at a 9 to 5 just to gain some experience in the social media industry. So being able to have the experience on your belt and to do things was very important. Another thing is that to build your social presence, if you're going to work into the social media industry, understand that your personal brand is going to be top of mind. People are going to look at you and figure out, you know, what type of content do you create on your own, right? That doesn't mean you have to go in and be an influencer, but be a little bit mindful on how you're interacting with other brands, how you're interacting and what you're posting on social media. And I know people say, oh, they just look, but it's when you're going to be in the social media industry, you're a part of the industry, right? So learning how you're creating content. One of the biggest things that I am known for in the social media industry here in Philadelphia is that I'm known for being detailed with my video production, creating detailed shots, I'm a very big storyline visual creators, so people know that if they come work with me, I create a storyline for you, like we go in depth. So really having those skills, those personal skills on your own and building what makes you sellable is going to be very critical for you. And of course, just learning all the tricks of the trade. Learn how to produce content, learn how to edit content, learn how to create simple graphics, how to create cool Instagram reels or Instagram stories. Use Canva, you know what I mean? Things of that nature is going to help you excel, and it's going to help you be a better social media content producer in the industry.
Great tips. So what is next for you? Where do you want to go in your marketing and communications career?
Wherever the wind takes me, to be honest. I feel like at this point, it's kind of creating magic where it comes. I have a few opportunities to work with a friend on some, really big brands to create some video content for, so that I'm really excited about, and to kind of just build on my craft when I can and on my own. The best thing I would say is, because we're in an age of social media, if you do get into the industry, understand that sometimes it can take a toll. That's why I chose this part in my career, to kind of take it back and create work-life balance, because it can get exhausting when you're not only producing content for other brands, but you're also wanting to enjoy it as well on your own. So, just taking it as it comes and kind of seeing where it goes from there.
Excellent. Final question for you. So the students here, a lot of them are finishing up a associate's degree. They may be getting a social media marketing certificate. They may be transferring to Arizona State. A whole wide range of things. What advice would you give to them as they start looking for their first jobs in the marketing industry?
It's really understanding the fact that you're not going to have it figured out. Even if you know that this is the degree that you're going to get, may not always be the degree that you're going to use. That's just me being very honest. I didn't come out the gate, I had a PR degree, I didn't use it, right? I didn't use it, right? I didn't become a PR professional. I became a social media content producer, creator, right? I would always tell college students that talk to me is that give yourself the opportunity to be versatile. Give yourself the opportunity to play around and to know what you like and what you don't like. That is very important. Understand what you don't like, so that you don't put yourself in a predicament out in the quote unquote real world, when I feel like you already are in the real world. When you go out and you graduate college, have the opportunity to give yourself to say, I know exactly I don't want to do that, but I want to do this. And then you can go exactly for what you're going for and excel in it. So be multifaceted. Don't be scared to try different industries. Don't be scared to, play with what your degree can do and do the research about it, because it will change the game for you.
Great advice, fantastic tips along the way. So Laiza, thank you so much for being a part of the class today. We really appreciate it. And I could tell from all the questions, everybody was really interested and just wanted to kind of understand from your experience, what they should be looking to do in their careers.
Of course. And I'm always here. If any of you want to reach out to me, I can definitely give you, Eric, my contact information, my social media pages. I'm an open book, and I love to help college students kind of navigate this industry, because it can be a little bit crazy.
For sure. Well, I'm going to share with them your LinkedIn, if that's okay. And yeah, I think some of them may reach out to you. So yeah, thank you again for your time today.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Bye, guys.